Hello Eva Green fans and welcome back to Eva Green Month. Today we'll be covering The Golden Compass, which isn't very much of an Eva Green film. Eva Green appears in about 10 minutes of this film in total. In fact, most of the main cast, that would be Nicole Kidman, Eva Green, Daniel Craig, Ian McKellen appears quite much in it. I mean, Christopher Lee got top billing and he has his one line, but they're barely in the movie. This movie is mostly about a kid and her bear, voiced by Ian McKellen, which, by the way, was great. If I owned a polar bear, it would be voiced by Ian McKellen. But, so, it's tricky to even consider this an Eva Green film, but I did enjoy this movie. But, is it great? No. But is it fun? Yes, but let's get more into that. So this movie has a lot of interesting ideas. First of all, the demons. That's so cool to me, that we have our spirits not in our own bodies, but they're in a form of said creature. So, like, Lyra's can constantly change, but Nicole Kidman's is a monkey, and those are the two main ones. But there are other ones, such as you can have a rat, a snake, a raven, a crow, so on and so forth. So it's a really interesting, it's a cool idea, and I don't know if they do in the books, because this is a book series, or if it got cut down, but do the demons, I wonder if they're supposed to represent their owner, or part of their human. There's a squirrel there. Yep, that's a squirrel, okay. Or do they represent a part of them? So let's say, like the monkey for Nicole Kidman, does it show that she has a ruthless side? Because monkeys can be quite ruthless little guys. Or am I thinking too much about that? But it's a very interesting idea, and it's always cool. It's like, oh, what would your demon be? And so on and so forth. The CGI in this movie, it's really good. I mean, it won the Oscar for CGI, I believe. Let's double check that fact. And it was also nominated for art direction, so I can tell you how gorgeous this movie is already. Yes, sorry. Yes, it was Best Achievement in Visual Effects. So, obviously, a lot of them look really good. I mean, the demons is sometimes, I know it's an older film, so I have to, but it would have looked really good in 2007. Now, you can tell that they're clearly, I mean, they're clearly CGI. And I know a lot of them, like Lyra's and Miss Coulter's, Nicole Kidman's, the monkey, there's no way they could train a monkey to do that, or there's no way they could constantly change animals and pets. But some of them were CGI dogs. I mean, the wolves at the end, that made sense. But CGI dogs, we have dogs. Just put the dog in. But maybe they're supposed to have that kind of, mystical feel to them, that they aren't 100% a real animal, but they aren't not, but then at the same time, they use a real corn snake and a real owl, so you can't have both. But it looks really good, and I think most of the environments, they look fantastic. Like, it's only the demons when they are too close to another human being, because then it kind of shows up. I mean, there's one scene where Nicole Kidman picks up her demon of a monkey and holds it, and it's so clearly not the monkey and whatever, but it looks excellent. Bear looks excellent. I think it looks better without his armor on in most scenes. I think that makes it look less real. I know it's a bear that can talk, but it looks, when he puts the armor on, it looks more like a CGI bear than an actual bear. When he has that armor off, you believe that there's a bear there and that he could crush you if you just like that. So, you know, it is what it is, but it looks really good. I also really like the kids are really well written. In some movies, the kids act so unlike children that you can't believe that they're kids, but in this one, they really do act like kids, and it's just great. I mean, at the very beginning of the film, they have a bet between one another, and it's very serious, very dramatic, and then they're like, okay, I'll see you later then, like that. It's like, that's what most kids are like, and not a lot of them focus on winning a bet or whatever. They're just trying to be friends and whatnot. So, most of them, not all of them, but in this case it was. So, they did a really good job writing the kid characters to make them feel very real. This movie has a star-studded cast, but also, like I said, most of the star-studded people are not in the film. It's mostly Lyra and her quest to find the golden compass, or she has it, but to escape and help her friends with the assistance of the golden compass. So I mean, Nicole Kidman plays Miss Coulter, who is the villain of this film. So she can't really be in it too much, or for kid movie standards, she isn't usually in it too much, or villains aren't. But let's say Daniel Craig, who plays her uncle, he's like, it's Nicole Kidman, and then he gets next top billing, and he's in it for like, I think someone counted 15 minutes, and Eva Green's in there even less, and she's right after Daniel Craig. So a lot of the main star-studded cast appear barely 40 minutes of the film put together. I mean, we have there's a lot of other actors I know that have bigger parts, which is cool, but the main star-studded ones hardly appear in the film. So, like I said before, it's hard to consider this anyone else's film but Lyra's. I mean, you could say it's a Nicole Kidman film, but again, she's not in it too much. It's not a Daniel Craig film because he's barely in it, and it's not an Eva Green film because she's hardly ever in it. So it's not any one actor's film. I mean, that helps, I suppose, too, with making it feel more equal and divided. But I would also feel at the same time it's gonna be hard to get people into the theaters if one of them isn't technically more in it than another. I mean, in the trailers, it makes it look like Nicole Kidman's character will be in it a lot more than she is. And, yeah, it is what it is, but it is a very star-studded cast, and they're all excellent. Lyra is pretty good, I have to say. Some delivery she gives is a bit odd to me. But I think also I should keep in mind that I think this is her first movie, and that she is a child actress, so they go up to different standards than everyone else. But she was good in this film. Good for her for doing it. Fair warning now, we're going to go into some spoiler territory, so if you haven't seen The Golden Compass, you should watch it now. Like, right now. Go. So, one of the major kind of things used against the film were the religious tones. And so, in the books, the Magisterium, which are the kind of evil organization of the film, are apparently an offshoot of the Catholic Church, and as if they had abused their power and still had power and continued, so on and so forth, and they had control over everything. So, a lot of that got a lot of outcry from the Catholic community, saying that the movie was anti-religious, or that if the movie wasn't, it would send the kids to the books, which they considered to be anti-religious, so they demanded a boycott of the film. And this severely hurts the film for two reasons. One, a huge demographic gets knocked out for people who want to go see the film, which is not good, especially when the judgments came out before the film was even released. So no one had even seen the film to say if it was anti-religious or not. So, and it also destroys something else because studios then worry. They worry that they're not going to get any money. They worry that the up and refusal, if there's any sense of anti-religious tones, that it will be gone, or that the people won't want to go see it, and then people will give it bad reviews and such a judge. But so they removed it all, but then people still had a boycott for the film, so in the end it hurts the film, because all the religious questions that the author posed in the novels, and all the deep, meaningful discussions are now gone from the film, and it becomes this mega, like, just a classic evil organization that is taken over sort of deal. So, and that hurts the film, I think, because that's what separates the books, is that it's a religious organization. So to remove all the religious material from this organization kind of makes it hard to continue the story anyway, and it changes it so much, so it doesn't become a dark and edgy piece, it just becomes a fantasy piece. So this is the second time that a studio has interfered in an Eva Green film. This might be why she steps out of mainstream media or mainstream production companies for a while, because then afterwards she goes to Franklin, and then it's a bunch of not short films, independent films. But the religious tones, they're still there. Maybe because I had read it and I knew that it was a religious company or religious sect, that I knew that it was, and maybe I saw it more, but I don't think a kid would catch on. Unless you knew about it, I don't think you would catch on very quickly. It seems more like an evil organization than anything else, and that kind of it kind of demoralizes. It changes the story too much. And I was reading someone's comment, because I like to read reviews and such after I watched the film, and someone was asking, oh, I can't believe they didn't make a sequel, because it did make a lot of money, and not in America, because all of the Catholic individuals who boycotted it, but in other places, so it was like, well, why didn't they make a sequel? Well, it wasn't very successful here, first of all, and second of all, someone commented that they changed so much for the first book to movie, that it would be near impossible to continue it because of all the religious tones that are still in the second and third one. So, kind of any chance of a sequel got nixed because people were interfering with everything, which is so unfortunate. This movie, it's a setup movie. It's a movie that sets up a trilogy or a franchise, and that's what it is. It's just the first movie, so hopefully you would go... If this one did well, you go to a sequel, and hopefully they get progressively better. And because of this movie, that probably hurt the movie more, that it was supposed to be a setup movie and not a film on its own. If it was a film on its own and then they could make a sequel, that'd probably be better. A good example, to me, would be Miss Peregrine's Home for Cured Children. That one wraps up the story, but it still leaves an opportunity for a sequel, but it's wrapped up enough that you can enjoy it as a movie. Whereas The Golden Compass, especially, or for me at least, when I finished it, I was like, well, what's happening now? It ends on a cliffhanger, and it just makes me disappointed, because I think it could have been a good franchise. Like, I think the second and third ones could have been really, really good, really, really interesting, but we've lost that chance because it got nixed, which is so unfortunate. But, I know the actor who plays the Gunslinger, or the Airship Man. I only know him as Other Ron. He blamed the studio and the Catholic, I don't know, I think it was the people who went against it, not Catholics. I don't want to say that, because I don't think that was right, but he blamed them as well for the movie doing so poorly and the movie not being what it should have been. I know the director has publicly, not disowned, but was disappointed with how the movie turned out, so it makes you wonder, well, why isn't there a director's cut? Maybe a director's cut would change people's perspective of the film. Maybe more people would like it. Who knows? Alright, let's go to the cast, and we'll talk more about the film in its entirety at the end. Miss Coulter, aka Nicole Kidman, she is the highlight of the movie. She is so much, and you're like, what? You've greened it, because she's barely in it, guys. Maybe she was more in the sequels, but she isn't in this one too much. But she has such a... Oh, what was the word? Charisma. She adds so much charisma to Miss Coulter, and she makes her quite an interesting character, that it's like, oh man, like, because it comes out later in the film that Lyra is her daughter, but she couldn't keep her due to the circumstances, presumably of said religion. So for her, it's more trying to get Lyra to be with her, more than it's her capturing her in the Golden Compass. So it gives such an interesting, and it's a kind of sad dynamic, and I don't wish Nicole Kidman or Miss Coulter won, per se, but she's so hard to hate, because she has such charisma, and she's such a great... You look forward to every single scene she's in, basically, because she just has such a great charisma about her. Yeah, she has such a great energy. Eva Green, she has the introduction, but she doesn't show up until about 46 minutes into the film, and she doesn't show up again until the very end of the film. She plays... Sarafine, that's her name. She plays Sarafine, who is a witch who can fly and helps in the battle. But basically that's it. She just... she kind of gives out exposition, more or less. The first time she's in it is the intro, and it just covers the demon lore. And then the second time she comes in, she just wants to know if Lyra is the hero of the Golden Compass. So she asks her, oh, look, who is my lover on this ship? And then tells us more or less where we're heading in this path. And then she leaves again, and she comes back and fights, and then again she gets more exposition on the ship where she says, you know, there's a war coming. I was like, oh yeah, that would be really interesting, a war between the Magisterium and people who don't follow the Magisterium. And then she leaves. So basically she's the exposition witch of the film. So that's it, and it's such a shame that her talents aren't really used so well here. I think part of me feels like Eva Green was thinking in a grand scheme, like, this is a starting movie, and then in the sequels we can explore Sarafine more and make her more a runner up. But because that never happened, and this is a set of movie, she's barely in it, and she doesn't have much to go with. It's only really, like I said, Miss Coulter, Lyra, and the bear that get the most character development because it's more their story this time, whereas I feel all the extra sub-characters, their stories would have been told in the sequels. But, again, that didn't happen. So it is a shame for what it was. The other Ron, he plays a gunslinger and he helps out Lyra. He's great. He plays that type of character so well. I love it. But yeah, he's just great. Nothing standout-ish, of course, but he's a fun guy. He's fun to be around. He'd be that uncle you want to hang out with. If you've ever seen Downton Abbey, Carson is in this. He plays I heard Egyptians or Egypts or were they? I think they were Egyptians or that's what they were called or something to that effect. But he plays the leader and he's a lot more lighthearted than Carson and yeah, it was very interesting to see him in a different kind of role than a Carson-y kind of role. It was fun. I did like his character. Again, not much is explored about him because it's not really his movie. Ian McKellen, I really, really liked him as a bear. His voice, it sounds silly, but his voice works for a bear, and I couldn't imagine anyone else doing a voice of the bear. I know someone else was planned, and he was good to go through, but the studio wanted to make another kind of Lord of the Rings trilogy, so they nixed the other guy and then put Ian McKellen in instead. So, I mean, the other guy was sad about it, but I think it works for the best. I think Ian McKellen is great as the bear. He gives a lot of, he gives a kind of a sadness, but it's still like a tough edge to him. But he has a soft spot for Lyra, and I think he kind of has a, I don't want to say a Spock kind of feel, but in some ways it's like, oh, so you want to ride me across the field, or he kind of asks things as a matter of fact, and he's more a factual kind of guy, which is a very interesting dynamic for a polar bear that can talk. Alright, let's go over this story. The Magisterium, I'm always a fan, I don't know why. I like religious entity, or religious groups in film. I think it's very interesting. You can explore and make different commentary on religious sects in our world, and it allows some movies to point out inconsistencies or things that religions teach that aren't really accepted now. But I think religious religious groups in films are so interesting, and I found the Magisterium very, very interesting. Apparently it's supposed to be a sect of the Catholic Church, and I think it could be any religion, really. More Catholicism, because a lot of people know it more, is probably why that's where it came from. But they're very interesting. Not much is explored on them, but they have very strong beliefs. They're willing to kill to protect the secrets of dust. What is dust? I don't really 100% know. All I know is kids have it more. It causes issues, apparently, that's what the religion teaches. And, yeah. But I think it's really interesting, the Magisterium. I wish it more got explored, but for what we have, it's enough for me to want to read more about the Magisterium, what they have, what beliefs they have, and yeah, it's very interesting. I love the name, the Magisterium. The Magisterium. It's interesting, too, for the Magisterium. They all seem to be kind of evil people. And whereas Miss Coulter seems to be the only one with kind of any thought or any feeling behind her, to an extent. Well, the experiments would say differently, but yeah, maybe they shouldn't have all been so evil, but you know, so the ones that are higher in the power probably would have stronger beliefs and stronger will to hold on to their power. Now, the movie got dark in the sense, like, because we find out once they get to the end game where they want to save all the kids that have been stolen by the boggers. I think that was what they were called, or something to that effect. We find out that they're separating kids from their demons, so basically separating kids from their souls, and I'm like, holy, that's kind of risky for a kid's, not risky, but it's very dark for a kid's film. to imagine that you as a kid are kidnapped from your family and then are forced to watch your soul kind of be ripped away from you. It's like, I'm kind of surprised that that got... It's very interesting, it's very risky, and it's very dark, and I think it's very... It makes it different than the other films at the time, like Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe and Harry Potter, but Harry Potter got a lot darker later on. But Golden Compass definitely... That idea is so dark, and it's so interesting, and Miss Coulter says that, you know, it's for the best, that they don't have to suffer through the pain of what dust does to people, but at the same time, can really separating someone from their soul be a good thing, and she's that villain that thinks she's doing the best for children, while not realizing that she's probably hurting them more than anything else. So I think it's a very interesting dynamic, and it poses a very interesting question, and I think that not a lot of kids' movies did then, and not a lot of, or fantasy family movies did then, whereas a lot don't seem to do that as much now. It seems to be a lot safer in the darker territory, probably because of movies. As Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe franchise went on, that kind of got worse and worse. Harry Potter did really well, but, you know, Golden Compass died pretty quickly. So, that's what it is. The Bear Kingdom is also very, very, very interesting. I would have won... There should just be books about, the Magisterium and the Bear Kingdom. I'd be very, very interested to hear what their lore is all about, and hopefully, maybe it's explained in the books. But it's very interesting. The Bear Kingdom, I would go to visit there, although I'd probably be murdered. But it's such an interesting place, and it's such an interesting idea. Like, who else would come up with that? A polar bear kingdom. I love the fight scene. That was a very, very cool fight scene. I think the king, not Ian McKellen, because Ian McKellen is the prince of the polar bears, he himself, not the character. And then you have the king. I think the king's armor was a lot cooler, because it had spikes on his head and such. But he dies very brutally, and I'm surprised that, again, they got away with this in a kid's film, because Ian McKellen's bear, he hits the king's jaw, dislocates the bottom half, and then bites and snaps his neck. It's like, oh, I'm surprised, again, that they got away with that in a kid's film. It's very dark, and it's very risky, and again, I wish I had more time to expand and just become the franchise and the book arc that it should have been, and not be stuck to one film with a cliffhanger. I also want to give... Daniel Craig is very good in this film. Again, he doesn't have much to do, and it's not... Again, it's more a setup type of situation for him. But, I mean, he does what he does, and he's pretty good. He's no James Bond, but he's definitely really good in the film. Back to the graphics, though, or not the graphics. The design. This movie is beautiful. It's so beautiful to look at, and it's such a... It would be any person's... a set designers, I'm sure, to let their imagination go free. Of course, there's some restrictions because it's a book, but there's just so much freedom in it. It's so engrossing, like I said in my review for Kingdom Heaven. I love environments, and if they are engrossing enough, I just fall in love with them, and it makes me fall in love with the world. And I fell in love with the world, and it's caused my imagination to start running. And this film definitely did that for me. It allowed my imagination to run. It allowed me to create different things, different characters, different scenarios, some based in the world, some based on my own. So it was a movie that very much let me explore and imagine, which I don't think a lot of kids' films do. Like, they go to so many locations in this film, and it's so easy to let your mind wander. It's like, what's over here, what's over here? It's so interesting. And it's just a stunning film, and you just fall in love with it. And it has a unique style of its own. It doesn't feel like another film. It feels like its very own unique style. And a lot of the locations don't look like they're CGI'd, or they don't look fake. I know some of them aren't. Most of them aren't, but some of them, like the Magisterium headquarters, I'm pretty sure that was CGI. I would assume so. If it's not, that would be interesting. The school wasn't, or it didn't appear to be. I think that was a real castle. It's a very stunning and beautiful movie to look at, and you can just easily fall into the environments, and if you have an overactive imagination like me, your mind will wander, and you'll start thinking of your own fantasy quests to go on. Also, the movie hinted at their different worlds, so this is a parallel world to ours, which I would love. I would go to that world. The ending bugged me so much. I wish they had wrapped the movie up. I wish they then didn't just feel like, oh yeah, we can get a sequel. I know New Line kind of guaranteed it. They're like, yeah, we'll do this movie, and then we'll have a sequel, and everyone was signed on to do a sequel, as far as I know. But it frustrates me that it just, with all the controversy going on, they should have planned ahead to have an ending that could not wrap up the story, because you can't really do that. It's a setup book and movie, right? But close it enough that there could be a sequel, but there doesn't need to be. Because Nicole Kidman, when her character just ends with, I know where she's going, and then she leaves the movie, and so I thought the movie would have an extra 10 or 20 minutes, because they already had a big battle. They would have a confrontation with Daniel Craig's character, Nicole Kidman, and Lyra. All of them would go against one another, or they'll have a talk out. But no, the movie just ends. Nicole Kidman, Miss Coulter, just goes out, and she's like, I know where she's going, and she heads out there, and Lyra's just heading there. And then we get a setup for war, and that annoys me so much. It makes me so sad that it didn't, there wasn't a franchise from it. And at the time, because I was, oh my god, I think I was 9 at the time, and I 100% remember this movie was so publicized, and there were trailers on every channel. Disney especially had trailers for it. But this movie was so publicized that if only it did well. I mean, it did enough to sort of validate a sequel, but like I said already, it would have been hard because of all the religious stuff removed. So, long story short, the ending just makes me sad. I really I wanted to go back to and explore this world more, and I'll probably read the books now. I'm interested enough. So maybe you'll see book reviews if anyone's interested in that or whatnot. But yeah, it's just, in the end, this movie's just a setup movie, and that's all it really is. Did I like it? I did very much like it. I was surprised at first, because I don't know why, the trailers maybe weren't that great for what I'd seen, but I wasn't very interested in seeing this movie. I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, I mean, yeah. But when I rewatched the trailer again before watching it, and I tried to keep an open mind, because I'm like, I have to watch this now, maybe I should keep a positive outlook on it. And I was surprised that I didn't dislike it as much as I remembered disliking the trailer, and I did find it interesting and evolving. But the thing is, I think the world and the characters are more interesting than the story itself. And you need a good story as a backbone for them to explore. But even so, there's so many characters in this movie that there's not enough time to explore anyone else except for the main 3 that I've mentioned. So, whereas a book is able to do that a lot easier. But in the end, I think it's a good movie. I think it's a good fantasy movie. I think I can see why it might not have done very well. If it was because of religious reasons, that's not a good reason at all. But I can see it might not have done well because it is a different film, but there's also a lot of movies like that at the time. But still, it would have been interesting to see if it came out. I mean, could you imagine every 2 years? This one came out in 2007, so 2009 for the sequel, and then maybe 2011 for the final one? Like, so yes, I did enjoy this movie. I don't know if I'd watch it very often. I own it on Blu-ray, which made it look even better. I have to say, it looked amazing. But I'm probably going to watch it. It's going to be an every once in a while movie. It's not going to be what I can watch very much. It's not really an Evergreen Month kind of movie. But I did find it enjoyable. And I think a lot of people, if you like the fantasy genre, you'll probably like it too. And if you love the environments and the environments, you'll probably, like, your imagination will run wild. Would I recommend it? Yes and no. If you don't like fantasy family films, you won't like this one. If you like worlds that are very expansive and very interesting, I think you'd like this movie. But I think a lot of people who would have wanted to see it have already seen it now, and I don't think that's going to change too much. As an evergreen film, it's not really an evergreen film. In the grand scheme of things, she only really has a cameo in the movie, and I feel the sequels probably would have been more evergreeny films, but this one isn't. So I would have to say if you can't even really consider this an evergreen film. She's in it. I mean, that's about the extent. But, yeah, I would not include it in an evergreen marathon. I mean, I probably would because I'm not dedicated, but if you're just a casual evergreen fan, this is a movie you do not need to see because she's barely in it anyway. So now here's some questions for you guys. If you had a demon, what would yours be? I think mine would be probably a raven or something to that effect. Don't ask why, but Yeah, I'd probably be a Raven. Do you think the studio was right to interfere? Do you think it hurt the movie or helped it? What do you guys think about that? Would you have wanted to see more sequels? Do you think this is a good setup movie and the next two would have been far more interesting? Or do you think that it was for the best? That or do you think this should have just been a standalone movie and that was about the extent of it? Did you get lost in this world? Did you find this world interesting? And if you did, what were your favorite aspects of it? Mine were definitely the scenery and the Magisterium, I think, was very interesting. That's it for this discussion of the Golden Compass. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys will come back for more Eva Green Month. Next time, we'll be doing her first independent film, Franklin. Another movie I haven't seen that I forgot to mention. So I hope you guys will come back for that. I hope you're enjoying Eva Green Month thus far. I hope you come back, and I'll see you guys later. Farewell for now.